A big problem that we already touched upon is that people feel they need to deserve their success. This is a major problem because if someone always thinks that, okay, only scammers make more than $200 an hour. By extensions, if I have some opportunity to make over $200 an hour, I feel like a scammer. And this is just wrong, because a lot of people make more than $200 an hour without being scammers. And also a lot of scammers don't make any money because they fail like in everything else. So this is a broken way to think about the world. It's just not true. You should aim high, and you should aim high with your perception of your time and hourly rate and pricing and all of this. But you should also aim high with the freedom and just well-being that you want to have for yourself, your startup, your company, your employees. Because my startup reached an 8-figure valuation, and if it was an SEO agency, because I come from an SEO background, but I started my startup from scratch in domains, so it was not exactly my thing. I was learning on the go for 2 or 3 years. But if I had created, let's say, an SEO agency instead of a startup for 9 years, maybe with all of my resources and connection and knowledge in the SEO industry, maybe it could have been billions. But what's the worth in that if I had to deal with annoying clients all day? Our current startup doesn't have any phone support. So we are 8-figure business without phone support. And why is that? Because we have no customers for services where they can complain. Just that's not the services we sell. We sell domains. Okay, give us the money. We give you the domain. Deal is done. There's nothing for you to complain about. Except if you're like a really special asshole that can still complain about something. There will always be these cases, but they're very fringe. But we also sell links. Okay, you give us the money, we put the link. We have 2 obligations. The website should be up and running, and it should not be banned by Google. If those 2 obligations are met while the link is rented, then we kept our side of the deal. And those 2 are very easy to check by both sides. So there's not no way that both sides can be in different opinions about whether the website is up or not up, or in Google or not in Google. It's just very basic things. Simple products, low supply, high demand, fetch good prices, and you don't need support, and you don't have annoying clients. We have thousands of paying customers, and less than 2% of them are annoying. And those 2%, they will just be annoying for every business with their customers. It probably will be a lot worse if they go to a restaurant or something. So you can aim high not just in money, just don't understand, aim high in long-term freedom. So this is both money and non-monetary characteristics of your business, about how fun it is to actually do your day-to-day work, not just how fun it is to go to startup conferences and pitch to investors and be in this hype of what you're building, but also how fun it is to do the actual work. Our work is mostly fun. It's not super interesting, it's not super challenging, but it's fun because we work with nice people, and that's something worth striving for, worth aiming for. And the problem is that people don't aim high, they all aim low. And when they aim low, they end up doing the same things. And when they do the same things, they end up fucked, because they do the same thing and there's a lot of supply and lower demand for what they do, and they end up all in these pockets where they do something which it may be really important, like essential food, restaurants. I love restaurants, I love food, it's essential, we all need food. But if there were 20% less restaurants, then all of the restaurants would be happier. And when you would go to a restaurant, you would be served by a waiter who has a decent pay, and there will be no compromise on the products used and all of this, because you have to survive in a cutthroat industry. So it's better for everyone. This injustice, again, is not really an injustice, because people just do it to themselves. Of course, we need better education and much better understanding of the truth about how the economy has turned out to work, especially in recent years after the advent of the internet. Because let's face it, 50 years ago, you didn't have a choice similar to being an SEO, like free work, consulting, 1 year of education, and you're the god. like there was no alternative. But now with the internet, there are some alternatives, and this like makes the old jobs of studying 10 years for being a doctor or a lawyer, they just look bad. Of course, they're still better than some options that are even worse, but they look bad in comparison to what you can achieve using some things that didn't exist like 20 years ago. So I don't say that it's unjust. My word of choice is I say it's asymmetric. The word is asymmetric. The economy is asymmetric. You should not try to equate things because it's not how reality works. How do we choose a good business idea? To recap and add some new stuff. Huge demand, low supply, of course. Scalable with low effort and capital. This way you can try a lot of ideas, try to scale them fast, see if they work or not, because you never know in advance really. And this way you greatly increase your chances of success. Stability. It's very important that it's a stable industry. Like if you are into crypto in the last 10 years, you have so many booms and busts that first that you need a very strong psyche to handle all of this success and failure, because actually success is harder to handle. Failure is easy, but success, it's important to be a stable industry and not like the rising tide lifts all boats, but then the tsunami comes. So that's not what you want. There are a few things that are more hidden because these 2-3 are mainstream, you can read them in a lot of places, but there are 4 that are a big plus. Why they are a plus? Because there's a trap. What does this mean? Well, if something is not good, it's average, but for some reason it appears bad to people, to potential entrepreneurs, then very few people will do it, and then there will be low supply and higher demand. So if there's a trap, it's actually a win. The trap is something that appears bad, but it's whatever, it doesn't matter that much. Or you can go around it. So we go through the 4 big traps. If it's random, annoying, or boring, it's a trap. So it's actually, if it seems random, it's just that it's harder on your psychology. It doesn't mean that it's bad. Sometimes it will be good, sometimes it will be bad. They will be average to the mean long term. It's like playing poker. You shouldn't really care about luck because it averages over time. If it's random, it's hard on people. They want certainty, so they fall into this trap. They avoid it. You should go for it. If it's annoying, people definitely don't like annoying stuff. So there's ways to get into industries that are annoying and somehow go around the annoyance. This will be a big win because people will definitely don't want to do anything annoying. But the big win is if you find something that's very extremely boring. People will hate the boring thing. Actually, it will not be boring because it will be boring on the surface and then they will be challenging. It will be interesting as fuck. But if it seems boring, like domain names look extremely boring to people. Like, this have domain names and name servers and records and there's actually an advertisement about how boring domain names are. Well, person is talking about the domain names and everyone around him is falling asleep from being bored. It's an actual ad that was aired on Japanese TV, and it presents domains in the way that people see them. Extremely boring. But actually, some of the most interesting things that I have seen professionally are in domains under the boring stuff. This very interesting stuff from time to time. But boring means that not a lot of people want to do domains, because at parties, when people ask them what do you do, and they say domain names, and everyone blah. I don't want to hear anything about it. So then people want to be like socially accepted and talk about their work without being rejected. So no one wants boring. Boring is very good. It's one of those it's a trap moments. So insecure in the details. It's a bit like random, but not exactly the same thing. It's if you don't exactly know what's going on. Like random is okay, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, like in the casino. But insecure in the details is like you don't really know what's going on. There's this uncertainty. Like it's not like if you win or you lose, it's more like you don't know, I don't know what I'm doing thing. And this like really off-puts people. People hate about not knowing what they're doing. Like especially women. This is a reason for a big gender disparity in SEO, sadly, because women really hate the I don't like what's going on thing. Most men too, of course, but this is something that it's a trap. If no one really knows what they're doing, it's the same for everyone. It's not actually a good thing or a bad thing. It is what it is. So, but people hate it, so they won't do it. So less supply compared to the demand. And another thing that holds for SEO, while we go through this, we see how SEO is good. Like it's kind of boring. It's random. It's insecure in the details. but the worst possible thing, it's feedbackless. So it's a bit like the previous thing, but again, not exactly the same. What does feedbackless mean? It means that you have no way of being certain about your actions if they are good or bad. Like usually when you don't know what's going on, at least after some time you know. Like you have some feedback. But in SEO, no. Because you do some things, Google ranks your website higher or lower, but it's not exactly random, but there's so many factors in this that you don't really know what you do after how much time Google will decide to give you a positive or negative push for this, and you don't know. You do a ton of things at once, and your website goes up and down in a zigzag, and that's all you see, and you have no way to know how to separate the factors. Of course, you can do tests, but this is extremely boring because you start and testing variable by variable, and after 1 year, Google's algorithms change, so you have to test again. So it's just a never-ending treadmill of useless testing, which you cannot do with your real website because you have to do real SEO on them in more than one way at a time. So being feedbackless just kills the joy in every SEO. Like every SEO has this moment where it's just, fuck it, I don't care. Like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm good or bad, but the website ranks or doesn't rank. It is what it is. I just make more websites, and I'm doing this because it brings a lot of money. Of course, you have to really overcome some internal barrier to say this fuck it, this specific fuck it. And another thing is that gray hat. If something that you do is kind of considered gray hat, like this doesn't mean illegal. It just means like things like the adult industry and stuff like this. Like they're legal, but you know, at parties you would prefer not to talk about them at all. That's so the worse than boring. And a lot of things are considered gray hat without really being that gray hat. Like every time when I tell people that I manipulate Google results for a living, like in the past, I no longer do this, but in the past when I did, and they were like, oh, is this legal? Like this was 80% of people were just straight with this question. And I was like, yeah, completely. Like it's you're not breaking any laws by placing links around the internet and so on. So if something is considered gray hat, this will off-put this 30 or 40% of people who would just never touch anything unless it's explicitly checked that it's 100% moral and legal and legit and everything. So again, supply will really shrink if something is legit but doesn't appear legit from the outside.